The rulebook doesn't say you have to tackle this journey of life alone. These are the times I make those connections with others, so we can all take a look back while we all move forward. This is the Dependent Independent Podcast.
MiniSode.
Hey there, subscribers. Thank you for downloading and listening to MiniSode 43 and a half of the Dependent Independent Podcast. I'm your host, Nick G. This podcast is a podcast about making connections, looking back while moving forward. In our minisodes, which are specifically for our subscribers, we go back and look at what you may have missed in our previous episodes, talk about what I've been up to since our last episode, or when we recorded our last episode, and what to expect in future episodes. You can follow me on Twitter at dependent_Nick, and you can email the show at dependentindependent@gmail.com. We are now on Facebook. Please feel free to follow our page at the Dependent Independent Podcast page. And we are Instagram at dependent_Nick. And we do post all these minisodes on YouTube. So the video of this podcast will go up in at least 24 hours. I've been saying to my audience, you guys, my subscribers, that I'll get this up by Thursday, but I get antsy and get it up before then. We want to welcome a lot of new folks to our Facebook page. There seems to be a lot of folks from Williamstown, which is the next town over, following the show, so we welcome you to that. This show posts on Tuesday at midnight, our minisodes, and then we have full episodes where we usually have a co-host, but my schedule's so frantic that I just want to talk to you every other week, my subscribers, and let my new listeners hear my hear my co-hosts. So, ever since I started these minisodes, or at least putting them on YouTube, I noticed they were really long when they started. I'm trying to get them shorter and shorter and shorter. So my commitment here is to be done in under 15 minutes. So in fact, it is actually a minisode. So I only have a few topics to go over. I want to keep it concise. Our last episode 43, I got an opportunity to meet with Bruce Seddon. Bruce is a friend or an assistant sensei, I guess, martial arts instructor with my pal Dewey, who pretty much, he and I founded the podcast back in January 2015 when I was working closely with him doing all his video production, which I still do for his business, Zen Martial Arts and Fitness, but also Zen Sport, where they make kids faster and stronger. It was really fun. Bruce, I'm sure you're listening to this show. It was a great opportunity I had to be able to record the show with you. Since we talked, I went through all my old comic books. I have a couple copies of some comic books that you'll definitely enjoy way more than I do now. I have comic books in there that are older than you, basically. But I think I want to share some of those with you, and I'll make sure they get to you. Bruce, you will be on the show again. I think my commitment in our last episode is we will have him on episode 143, a little deja vu-age. So, real quick, let's get through the meat of the mini-sode. If you haven't already subscribed and you're just following the show or just coming across the show, whether you found it on Clamor, found it on Facebook, iTunes, what have you, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so you get it on your feed. I'm still working with iTunes regarding the Apple or the iOS podcast app subscribing. They haven't gotten back to me, which is totally weird. It's this huge anomaly. In order to download the show on iTunes, or subscribe to the show, you actually have to download the show, and then you could subscribe to it. Weirdest thing. Have no idea how it works, but my friend Matt Sassy actually helped me out from a podcast convention I attended a few weeks ago. Totally hooked me up, and that's how it works. Apple, if you can figure it out, please let me know. So, in essence, in this minisode, let's talk about some things that happened since I recorded my last episode. Excuse me for 1 second. Take a drink. All right. About a week ago, the craziest shit show hit the network TV channels, and that was the presidential debate where Hillary and Donald went at it. And I'm serious, they really went at it. I am in no way, shape, or form ever want to turn this podcast into a political platform. I know who I'm going to vote for. I'm sure anyone listening and viewing on YouTube know who they're going to vote for. All the power to you. That's the best part about America. You can pick whoever you want. But the one, I guess, the thing I kind of think of is I deal with so many people every day in my career. I've been in a lot of management positions and have dealt with a lot of people with different personalities. And there's people you kind of want to have at the party and people you don't want to have at the party. And I would just suggest that any red-blooded American that's listening to this show or watching it, just think about who do you want at the party? Who do you want to introduce to your grandkids? Who do you want to meet or shake their hand? And that's the president you should pick. things are going to change in the next 4 or 5 weeks once we get our president in office, and then we inaugurate them in January. I'm anxious as an American. I'm still an American no matter who wins. And it is an amazing thing to be part of this and to be able to take part in this. I'm going to be on bated breath watching TV on the night of the election. I think every red-blooded American, I keep saying that, red-blooded. Usually every podcast I get kind of a thing. So red-blooded will be the minisode. This minisode's a little thing. I think it's going to be one thing that brings all Americans together no matter what decision, because we're all going to be sitting watching our TV. But I'm anxious to see how the other speaks to the other. Because people, I think, are so opinionated on the candidate, you're either one or the other, that whoever wins, I wonder if the other one's just going to talk a lot of shit. Hopefully, I don't know anybody that does that, but that's what's going to happen. And one thing I haven't seen, at least, I don't watch a lot of live TV, but I have been paying attention to CNN and in the morning getting caught up on online, that tomorrow night is the presidential or the vice presidential debate, where Tim Kaine and Mike Pence are going to debate. Now, you got to think of it this way. I thought about giving some advice to my subscribers, even though I'm in no way, shape, or form in a position to give political advice. Tomorrow, we will be voting for the second, or at least determining who's the best second. We're not voting for them tomorrow. Pay attention to who you may think may be the next president. Based on their popularity, both Donald and Hillary, I don't know if they're going to be running a second term. I don't know if America is going to allow that based on just the climate now. Who knows? But let's just assume that. But either Pence or Kaine could be our next president. So kind of watch that debate with a very critical eye and determine whether or not we are ready for either one of those individuals to be president. That's one thing I haven't really seen a lot, but I did some reading and checked it out and went on the interwebs and tried to determine what to look for. But definitely check that out. Every week, or almost every week, and it's been a while. Haven't been on a mic in a while. The last time we recorded our minisode, we recorded that full episode the next day. So I'm a little rusty. So thank you. I appreciate it, subscribers, for bearing with me. I need some help. And I didn't know where to turn, but it's funny that I have a captive audience every week, and I just decided to take advantage of it. So whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this watching TV or in your car and commute or mowing your lawn, I don't know if anybody's mowing their lawn anymore because it is getting cold outside. I need your help, and I was hoping after all this you can offer me some advice because I don't know what to do. Ever since we went to and I mentioned it in previous podcasts, I went to this podcast convention. I was able to connect with not only podcasters, but a lot of entrepreneurs. And for the past 3 years, I've been fully engaged with my pal Dewey, who runs a martial arts and sports conditioning company that I do all of his video marketing. We collaborate a lot on a lot of projects, but at the end of the day, the final project is really something I put a stamp on and put on YouTube or online, whatever the case may be, depending on the video that my pal Dewey would like to promote his business. But he's an entrepreneur. And a long time ago, both Dewey and I actually worked together at the same company. He decided, which was the bravest thing anyone could do, is decide, you know what, rather than being a part of this corporate environment, I want to be an entrepreneur and be in business for myself. And he had the chops and the training and the know-how and the investments to go out there and open up his business. And for 3 years, he's still moving on. It's awesome to be a part of that. And even though we're best friends and pseudo kind of business partners in respect, there is a part of him that he always has to remind me of, that deep down in me, there may be an entrepreneur lurking. Now, I've been in corporate, I've been working for the man for as long as I can remember. And at one point, it was simply because I like approval. I know it sounds crazy, but I prefer to report to somebody. But as I've matured and I've done what I do in my profession for the last 15 years, I've gotten really good at what I do, and I've gotten really confident in what I do. Now, 2 minisodes ago, I talked about how the energy I put into my career, I might want to start kind of dripping that a little bit into another glass on extracurricular activities, whether it be for Dewey's business or the podcast or getting up on YouTube. But also, how can I take different avenues to express who I am, kind of go back to the old Nick? because before I did this podcast, I had a lot of rules and a lot of reasons to think that I can't be anything more than a dad because that's how it works. That's all the time I have. And I've realized after a 2-week vacation and really coming to grips with reality, that's total fucking bullshit. Like, I really need to start thinking about who I want to be and how I can be the best person I can be to my family, my kids, my audience, my coworkers, my friends, my business partners, pseudo-business partners, Dewey, anything I can do to be a better person. Because at the end of the day, no one can be a better you than you. And I paid that feedback out, or that advice out, a couple times this week. But for the past several weeks, opportunity in the sense of things that are outside my normal work have been coming in, and I've been absolutely overwhelmed. Overwhelmed in the sense that I don't know what direction to take, and that's where I need your advice. So in the last several weeks, I'll use this for example. Let me talk about more work, because I know I said it has nothing to do with work, but I have a good friend named Adam. He's known me for a really long time, really knows what I'm made of. And he will do whatever it takes to put in a good word for me whenever the opportunity presents itself. Well, he was at the synagogue lifting weights, or he was at the synagogue. He met someone, a gentleman, and he's been to the gym, and he bumped into this gentleman. This gentleman's a business owner in Philadelphia. And he was talking about what this business owner was trying to do. And being the fact that my friend Adam and I are in the same type of industry, Adam has his strengths and I have my strengths. Well, in the instance that this business owner needed some help, he promoted me. He basically said, I know a guy who can help you. He sent an email out. The emails went back and forth to introduce us, and eventually which led to a quick sit down with this gentleman, this business owner. Simply as a friend. Simply, I was told this individual needed help, and I was the one who could give him the help he needs. So I sat in this gentleman's office, and I listened. And this gentleman told me problems that most leaders I know have in his situation. And as long as I've been doing my job, I'm extremely aware of how to remedy some of those issues. And as we were talking, I threw out some ideas. Well, after about 20 minutes of throwing these ideas out, it left a lasting impression that this gentleman wanted to have another meeting. And because of my solutions, this gentleman had said, I know you're working full time, but it would be really great if we can have someone you like being a consultant. Now, not in a million years have I ever been in that position before. And I wouldn't even know what to do. I mean, like I said, I've been in corporate working for someone for so long, getting a paycheck every other week, doing the best job I can. And no one had ever said that to me. So I almost was aback at first. And as we were talking, I said, well, you give me a lot of information to digest. Why don't you and I meet for lunch? Let me take everything you gave me and maybe give you a more of a well-rounded, let me digest it and kind of give it back to you of what I'm exactly hearing you say. Now, after that meeting, 2 weeks later, which happened just simply last week, I was across the table from a president of a company, this gentleman's partner, and the COO of a company, explaining to me growth they want to have in their organization, things they want to accomplish in their organization. And still, I'm just sitting there with no expectations at all, no pressure at all, but yet extremely confident, and everything seemed to be easy on what I could share with them. They had a problem, I had a solution, and creative one for that matter. I seem to have an answer for everything they said to me. Now, mind you, I'm not perfect, but they seem to be excited about what I was saying. But as the conversation went on, I realized that, and reflecting on the comment he had said about being a contractor, that the only way to accomplish what I was saying that someone in that position could do, or what they could do, is that they would need to have someone full time. And at one point, I just went for broke and said, and I had thought about it. I had said, well, then that's a great opportunity for someone like me. Now, I've been on a lot of job interviews, and usually it's when you're going there looking for another opportunity to grow. As far as comfort zones go, I've never been in that position where I could sit across the table from three powerful people in a successful company in the city and say, listen, you have a problem, I know how to fix it, and if you're up for it, you can pick me to come and fix it. And I mean, it was like I ended up calling my friend Adam afterwards for some advice, but it was like practice. I looked at it as like practice, no matter where the conversation went or if we ever talked again. It was an opportunity for me to market myself, what I can do and be fully in control and confident. And in no way, shape, or form was it work. It was easy. And when I think about being an entrepreneur and watching Dewey, what he does, and connecting with other entrepreneurs and listening to other entrepreneurs' podcasts like Allie McAdams, who does Finding Your Value, has a great podcast called that, and I'll explain why that's so important. And Jen Crawford and Annette Bone, who are all podcasters that I know that talk to entrepreneurs. I may be ready to make a shift in the long term to going from someone who actually works for someone to someone who works for themselves. And I've been denying it for a really long time, but when I stop and think the amount of partnerships I've made since I started this podcast, and people who I've connected with, other podcasters that I've worked on the side to help them be better podcasters, whether it be on the technology side or just personal affirmations. I connected with a podcaster, her name's Michaela, who is looking to launch a podcast on animals. She's a pet lover. And I was going back, I never met this individual before, but I was going back and forth with her on Facebook on Saturday night, just trying to find opportunities to inspire her and share what I've known. And it never once, an hour and a half went by, and not once did it ever feel like work. Not like my day job. It just doing, and it was work, but it never felt like work. So suddenly it's this entrepreneurial itch that I have that I want to scratch, that my friend Dewey was planting seeds on and maybe saw some potential in me. And with 15 years of experience in dealing with managers and leadership in businesses, I have this bookshelf full of knowledge that I'm finding myself exercise. And not only did I have this opportunity, which by the way, that I'm still in interactions with this business, that I'm going to provide a solution to them. And hopefully, if all goes well, maybe it could lead to something that I could do. It's not something that, and I don't expect anything. Like, I just want to help them, and that's the thing that all this is doing. This whole interaction between helping people, whether it be a podcaster or an entrepreneur, I'm enjoying the help, but I'm realizing I'm doing a lot of helping, and on top of all this helping, I was engaged by a fellow podcaster who I met at the podcast convention, and he and I are now in talks on possibly creating a business where we help other podcasters start their own podcast, which I would do in a heartbeat. I mean, I'm all about paying it forward. You learn how to do something. I did it this week. I did it the week before. It's something I'm doing, but to make a business out of that and know that there's someone out there that saw potential in me to ask me to help him with the technology piece. I mean, you see the setup. I mean, this is real simple, but I'm of the mindset of helping podcasters make it as undaunting as possible. It should be easy to get your word out. There's so many things between my phone recording this podcast and this H4n recorder recording this and this nice mic. I mean, I can get my word out and sound good. And so I have all these entrepreneurial opportunities that I'm just diving into. But what scares the piss out of me is I don't know, and that's why I need your help, listeners. And whether you contact me on a direct message on Twitter or you follow the Facebook page at the Dependent Independent Podcast page and direct message me, or you follow me on Instagram at dependent_Nick or Twitter at dependent_Nick, I really need help, especially if you're someone who's dealt with someone in my position, someone who has an established career, making a good living, providing for his family, but is looking for the long term on finding a way to be the best he can be. And I mean, I can't imagine doing everything I've ever done with this podcast and every podcaster who may be listening that I've helped or talked to or supported on Patreon. It is not something I ever question. It is just so easy for me to do. It's just simple, and it blows me away how effortless it is, even though it's work. And if I could make a living doing that, it would be great. It would be awesome. But I have such a long journey to take to get there, but I don't know how to get there. And if you're listening or watching and you can offer me some guidance, please do. I'm not going to sit here. I don't have some overlying a lesson from this minisode, but I just wanted to use this avenue as an opportunity just for ask for help. That's what I'm experiencing. It's overwhelming for me because I've never experienced anything like this before in my life where I'm helping so many people. But I referred to Allie McAdams, who does a podcast, and she did one called Finding Your Value. And it resonated with me because when you do all these things, I don't want to diminish my value by doing everything for everybody. I want to understand that if I could possibly generate some type of revenue in what I'm very good at and what I think I was born to do, to be this creative person, which goes back to when I started my whole college career and which led me to podcasting, I think there's an opportunity for me to actually do that, but I don't know where to start. So please subscribe to the show, follow me on Facebook. All the links are in the show notes, and let me know. I would really, really appreciate it. This will make this a two-way conversation because every week I'm sharing with you. I'd love for you to share with me. I don't care what you do, but any advice would be great for me, whether or not you can relate to it or not, but it would be very helpful. So that's weird. I kind of broke the mold there doing that type of topic, but I'm hopefully the community I've already built here and everyone who follows the show will give me some words of encouragement and words from advice. So I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I have all these podcaster colleagues that listen that work with entrepreneurs, and I could really use some help. Any advice you can give me would be great. Our future podcasts. So let's talk about what to expect. Now, I misjudged. I planned these shows about 2 or 3 months in advance, and I miscalculated minisodes and full episodes. So my next full episode will drop in 2 weeks, but next week I'm going to pick a bonus episode. My wife and I and the kids are taking a nice vacation for Columbus Day weekend. I will not have any time to record a show, but I'm going to find the right show and rebroadcast it. We'll tag it as a bonus episode, so at least a new show hits your subscription feed, whether you're following us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, Podomatic, or actually not Podomatic. Nope, I'm not on Podomatic. I used to be, but not anymore. So you can follow us. All those links are in the show notes to the show. My friend Jess Brannis, who I was a co-host on her show where we recorded a podcast right on the streets of Philadelphia. I'm so excited. She's going to be coming all the way here from Philadelphia to have dinner with me and Meg, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but she's an amazing podcaster. She does a podcast called Drinks with Jess. I would suggest you listen to her podcast if you have an opportunity, and I can't remember what number I was. But I'm so anxious to have her at my house to record the show. And isn't that crazy, right? You know, you do a podcast and you think you're just going to interview people or have Dewey and I be on the show every week. But this is someone I connected with. I saw a tweet she put up. I listened to her show, promoted her as the Are You Listening? I Think You Should podcast on our year anniversary, our pub crawl. And now she's coming to my house to be on my show. I'm telling you, you gotta love this. Please subscribe. I know this minisode's for my subscribers, but I really want to get my the word out even more. So not just subscribing, but sharing this episode or this minisode or this podcast. It really means a lot. It's amazing how we've grown, but my podcast isn't like any other podcast, so I'm willing to take the long game to grow our audience. So definitely share the show with people that you know. Look in our back catalog. For the subscribers already know, but if you're a new listener, look at our back catalog. Look at the descriptions of the show. Not every show is for everybody, but we tailor to almost every audience to really tap into what you experience. And it's really about making connections and reflecting on what we do every day, like having a crazy week where everyone wants you because you're very good at what you do in a variety of things. And it's overwhelming and I need help. So please help. This has been minisode 43 and a half of the Dependent Independent podcast at Dependent_Nick on Twitter, thedependentindependent@gmail.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our show, and I think it's late, and I am out.